In the year 2147, humanity stood on the brink of something extraordinary. For decades, scientists and dreamers had scanned the skies, hoping to find evidence of life beyond Earth. But nothing could have prepared them for what happened that fateful day. The EOS-9, a sleek interstellar probe launched 10 years earlier, was humanity's most ambitious attempt to explore the cosmos. Equipped with advanced sensors and communication arrays, it drifted silently through the void near Proxima Centauri, Earth's closest stellar neighbor. Its mission was simple: listen for signs of intelligent life. What it found, however, was anything but simple. On a chilly morning at Mission Control in Geneva, alarms blared as data streamed in from EOS-9. A signal, a clear, deliberate pattern, had been detected. It wasn't random noise or cosmic interference. This was a message. The team worked tirelessly to decode it, their excitement growing with each passing hour. When they finally cracked the code, they were left speechless. The signal contained coordinates, not just any coordinates, but ones pointing directly back to Earth. Before anyone could process what this meant, the sky above Earth lit up. A massive spacecraft emerged from hyperspace, hovering silently in Earth's atmosphere. It was enormous, dwarfing even the largest orbital stations. Its design was unmistakably human. Spoked wheels spun slowly along its edges, modular habitats jutted out like puzzle pieces, and faded insignias resembling old NASA logos adorned its surface. Yet, despite its familiarity, no one on Earth recognized it. Governments scrambled to respond. Emergency meetings were held, military forces placed on high alert, and news outlets flooded the airwaves with speculation. Was this an alien invasion, a long-lost colony returning home, or something else entirely? Then came the broadcast. In perfect English, a calm voice echoed across every channel. "We've come home." The words sent shockwaves around the world. Who were these people? And why did they call Earth home? Questions raced through the minds of billions. Some saw hope in the arrival of these strangers, believing they might bring answers to Earth's problems: clean energy, cures for diseases, or solutions to climate change. Others feared the worst, convinced that these visitors had sinister intentions. Dr. Malik Chen, a renowned archaeologist specializing in ancient civilizations, watched the unfolding events with a mix of awe and unease. He had spent his career piecing together fragments of humanity's past, but this discovery defied everything he knew. Sitting in his cluttered office, surrounded by dusty books and half-finished coffee cups, he couldn't shake the feeling that something about the ship felt off. As the hours passed, more details emerged. The spacecraft identified itself as the Exodus, claiming to carry descendants of humans who had fled Earth over 5,000 years ago during a catastrophic event called the Sundering. According to their story, their ancestors escaped aboard colony ships when Earth became uninhabitable due to environmental collapse and endless wars. Over millennia, they evolved both biologically and culturally, developing technologies far beyond anything modern humans possessed. But not everyone bought their tale. Cryptic warnings began appearing online, urging caution. Anonymous posts claimed the newcomers weren't who they said they were. One chilling message read, "They are not what they seem." For Dr. Chen, the mystery only deepened. As he stared at images of the Exodus on his computer screen, he whispered to himself, "If they're really human, then where have they been all this time?" Little did he know, the answer would change everything. The world held its breath as the Exodus descended closer to Earth. Governments debated how to respond, while billions of people watched live broadcasts, their faces filled with awe and uncertainty. The massive spacecraft remained silent for hours after its initial broadcast, hovering ominously above the planet like a ghost from humanity's forgotten past. Finally, 12 figures emerged from the ship, stepping onto a specially constructed platform in Geneva. They were tall, their movements graceful yet deliberate. Their sleek exosuits shimmered under the sunlight, adorned with glowing insignias that pulsed faintly, an eerie reminder of their advanced technology. Despite their otherworldly appearance, their faces bore unmistakable human features. High cheekbones, piercing eyes, and expressions that seemed both familiar and distant. Their leader, Commander Ilara Voss, stepped forward. Her voice was calm but carried an authority that silenced the murmurs of the crowd. "We are the Exodus," she began, her words echoing across the globe. "Descendants of those who fled Earth during the Sundering. We have returned to reclaim our home." Her statement sent shockwaves through the audience. Some cheered, believing these strangers could save humanity from itself. Others whispered nervously, unsure whether to trust them. Dr. Malik Chen sat among the observers, his sharp eyes studying every detail. Something about Ilara's story didn't add up. If they truly left Earth thousands of years ago, why did no records, ancient or modern, mention such an event? Ilara continued, explaining how their ancestors escaped aboard colony ships when Earth became uninhabitable. Over millennia, they adapted to life in space, evolving physically and technologically. She described feats of engineering that seemed impossible, from self-sustaining ecosystems to faster-than-light travel. To prove their goodwill, she offered gifts: blueprints for clean energy reactors, cures for diseases thought incurable, and plans for terraforming barren planets into lush paradises. But there was a catch. In exchange for sharing their knowledge, the Exodus demanded access to Earth's historical archives. "We seek to reclaim our heritage," Ilara said, her tone softening, "to understand who we once were before we became what we are today." While many welcomed the offer, skepticism lingered. Conspiracy theories spread rapidly online. Some claimed the Exodus wasn't human at all but disguised aliens using advanced holograms. Others believed they were time travelers manipulating history. One anonymous post gained traction. "Why do they need our archives? Shouldn't they already know their own history?" Dr. Chen couldn't ignore the inconsistencies. As part of a hastily assembled team tasked with verifying the Exodus claims, he dove into research. He compared their descriptions of ancient civilizations with archaeological records. Nothing matched. References to mythical cities and artifacts simply didn't exist in any known database. Even their language, though English, contained subtle variations, phrases too polished, almost rehearsed. Meanwhile, tensions rose on Earth. Nations splintered into factions. Some eagerly embraced the Exodus, seeing them as saviors offering solutions to humanity's greatest challenges. Others viewed them with suspicion, fearing their true motives. Protests erupted worldwide, with banners reading "Stay Out," clashing against chants of "Welcome Home." Late one night, Chen found himself staring at grainy footage of the delegation's arrival. He zoomed in on their insignias, noticing faint symbols etched beneath the glowing patterns. They looked like circuit diagrams, intricate and alien. His heart raced. Were they hiding something beneath their polished facade? As he leaned back in his chair, exhaustion washing over him, his phone buzzed. It was Priya Lahiri, a journalist known for exposing government secrets. "Malik," she said urgently, "you're not going to believe this. I just got leaked documents from inside the Exodus. You need to see this." Chen hesitated, then grabbed his coat. Whatever truths lay hidden within the Exodus, he knew one thing for certain: they weren't telling the whole story, and uncovering it might change everything. "Would you like me to continue expanding other parts similarly?" As days turned into weeks, the presence of the Exodus grew more pronounced. Their gifts began to transform Earth in ways both miraculous and unsettling. Clean energy reactors powered cities without pollution, curing diseases that had plagued humanity for centuries. Deserts bloomed with life as experimental terraforming projects took root. Yet, despite these wonders, unease lingered like a shadow over the planet. Dr. Malik Chen found himself at the center of the storm. Tasked with verifying the Exodus claims, he worked tirelessly alongside a team of scientists, historians, and linguists. But the deeper they dug, the murkier the truth became. The delegation's stories were riddled with contradictions, references to ancient civilizations that never existed, timelines that didn't align, and artifacts described in detail, but nowhere to be found in Earth's records. One evening, after another long day of fruitless research, Chen sat alone in his dimly lit office. Spread across his desk were maps, documents, and holographic projections of symbols from the Exodus. His eyes landed on a peculiar insignia etched into one of their suits, a spiral surrounded by tiny dots. It looked familiar, yet he couldn't place it. Frustrated, he leaned back in his chair and sighed. Something was off about these people, but what? Meanwhile, the world outside spiraled further into chaos. Nations fractured under the weight of conflicting opinions. Some leaders embraced the Exodus, signing agreements to integrate their technology into national infrastructure. Others resisted fiercely, warning of potential dangers. Protests erupted in major cities, with crowds shouting slogans like "No to assimilation" and "Protect our humanity." In Geneva, Commander Ilara Voss addressed the United Nations once again. Her calm demeanor masked an underlying tension as she fielded questions from skeptical delegates. "We seek only to reunite with our roots," she insisted. "Our ancestors left this world out of necessity, not choice. Now we wish to share what we've learned." But her words failed to reassure everyone. Journalist Priya Lahiri stood near the back of the assembly hall, watching Ilara closely. She noticed subtle cues: the way Ilara avoided certain questions, the faint hesitation before answering others. When the session ended, Priya approached Chen, who had been observing quietly from the sidelines. "They're hiding something," Priya whispered urgently. "I've seen leaked documents hinting at classified experiments aboard their ship. Something called Project Genesis. Ever heard of it?" Chen shook his head, his brow furrowing. "No, but I've seen strange symbols on their gear. Maybe there's a connection." Determined to uncover the truth, Chen convinced the UN to grant him limited access to the Exodus mothership. Accompanied by Priya and a small security team, he boarded the vessel 2 days later. The interior was unlike anything he'd ever seen. Gleaming corridors lined with pulsating lights, rooms filled with humming machinery, and gravity-defying structures that seemed to defy physics. Their guide, a member of the Exodus named Kale, led them through restricted zones, explaining various systems along the way. But Chen noticed something odd. Certain areas were sealed off, marked with warnings in a language he couldn't decipher. When he asked about them, Kale's smile faltered. "Those sections are unstable," he said quickly. "Best not to disturb them." Later, while exploring a corridor alone, Chen stumbled upon a hidden chamber. Inside, shelves were stacked with relics labeled Project Genesis. Among them were mutated DNA strands, fragmented AI cores, and journals written in jagged handwriting. One entry caught his eye. "If we cannot save ourselves, perhaps we can remake them." His blood ran cold. Whoever, or whatever, the Exodus really was, they weren't just visitors. They were architects of something far more sinister. Before he could investigate further, footsteps echoed down the hallway. Heart pounding, Chen slipped out unnoticed, clutching a fragment of evidence. As he returned to the group, he exchanged a knowing glance with Priya. Whatever secrets the Exodus held, they were closer to unraveling them than ever before. But time was running out, and the cost of discovery might be higher than anyone imagined. "Would you like me to continue expanding other parts similarly?" Dr. Malik Chen returned to Earth carrying more questions than answers. The fragment he'd smuggled from the Exodus mothership, a single page torn from one of the journals, was cryptic but chilling. Written in jagged handwriting, it spoke of experiments, assimilation, and something called the Weaver. The words were disjointed, almost frantic. "It hungers. It consumes. We thought we could control it, but now it controls us." Chen spent sleepless nights poring over the journal entry, trying to decipher its meaning. His mind raced with possibilities. Was the Weaver some kind of artificial intelligence, a biological entity, or something else entirely? Whatever it was, it clearly posed a threat, not just to the Exodus, but potentially to all of humanity. Priya Lahiri, ever persistent, joined him in his investigation. Together, they pieced together fragments of information leaked by whistleblowers within the Exodus. One revelation stood out. Decades ago, during their journey through space, the Exodus encountered an ancient entity floating in the void between stars. This entity, which they dubbed the Weaver, offered salvation in exchange for unity. Many aboard the Exodus accepted, merging their consciousness with its vast network. Those who resisted were cast aside, their memories erased and rewritten. "They're not human anymore," Priya whispered one evening as they worked late into the night. "At least, not fully." Chen nodded grimly. "But why are they here? What do they want with Earth?" Before they could speculate further, strange phenomena began to plague the planet. Power grids flickered unpredictably, plunging entire cities into darkness. Animals acted erratically. Birds flew in chaotic patterns, livestock refused to eat, and reports surfaced of wolves howling at midday. Even stranger were the sightings. Witnesses described shadowy figures lurking in rural areas, humanoid in shape but distorted, as if seen through rippling water. Some claimed these figures resembled members of the Exodus, but wrong somehow, broken, incomplete. One such sighting occurred near a small farming town in Nebraska. A local farmer named Greg Hensley reported seeing a figure standing in his field under the moonlight. At first glance, it looked like one of the visitors, tall and clad in a shimmering suit. But when he approached, the figure turned toward him, revealing hollow eyes and a face that seemed stitched together from mismatched pieces. Terrified, Hensley fled, only to find the crops where the figure had stood wilted and blackened. News outlets dismissed the reports as mass hysteria or hoaxes, but Chen knew better. These incidents aligned too closely with what he learned about the Weaver. He shared his findings with Priya, who published an expose linking the phenomena to the Exodus. The article went viral, sparking panic and outrage worldwide. Protesters demanded answers, while conspiracy theorists claimed Earth was being prepared for assimilation. Amid the chaos, Commander Ilara Voss made another public appearance, urging calm. "These disturbances are unintended side effects of our arrival," she explained. "We are working tirelessly to resolve them." But her reassurances fell flat. Trust in the Exodus eroded further, replaced by fear and suspicion. Late one night, Chen received an encrypted message from an unknown sender. Attached was a video clip showing a hidden chamber aboard the mothership. Inside, rows of pods glowed faintly, each containing a humanoid figure suspended in gel-like fluid. Their bodies twitched involuntarily, faces contorted in silent agony. A caption flashed across the screen. "This is what happens to those who resist." Chen stared at the footage, his hands trembling. If this was true, then the Exodus wasn't here to reunite with humanity. They were here to consume it. As dawn broke, Chen realized the stakes were higher than ever. Uncovering the truth wouldn't just save humanity. It might be the only way to stop the Weaver from spreading its influence across the galaxy. "Would you like me to continue expanding other parts similarly?" Dr. Malik Chen knew he couldn't keep the horrifying footage to himself. The video of the pods aboard the Exodus mothership, each containing writhing, distorted figures, was proof that something sinister lurked beneath their polished facade. He shared it with Priya Lahiri, who immediately recognized its potential to ignite global outrage. But releasing it came with risks. If the Exodus discovered they were onto them, there would be no turning back. That night, Chen and Priya met in a secure underground facility, far from prying eyes. Alongside them were two new allies, Marcus Hale, a former military operative with combat experience, and Zara Lin, a tech prodigy skilled in hacking and decryption. Together, they formed a small but determined resistance group. Their mission was clear: to expose the truth about the Exodus while preparing for the worst-case scenario. As they strategized, Ilara Voss appeared unexpectedly on a live broadcast, her usual calm demeanor replaced by urgency. "We are aware of misinformation spreading across your networks. she said, addressing Earth directly. These lies aim to divide us when unity is most needed. We ask you to trust us as we work toward a brighter future. Her words struck a chord with many, but not everyone bought her reassurances. Protests intensified, with crowds chanting slogans like "No Assimilation" and "Protect Our Minds." Meanwhile, reports of strange occurrences multiplied. Power outages worsened, wildlife anomalies grew more frequent, and sightings of shadowy figures became almost commonplace. It seemed the Weaver's influence was spreading faster than anyone anticipated. Determined to confront Ilara, Chen arranged a private meeting aboard the mothership. When he arrived, escorted by Kale, the same guide who had shown him around before, tension crackled in the air. Ilara greeted him in a sleek observation deck overlooking Earth, her expression unreadable. "You know the truth, don't you?" she asked, cutting straight to the chase. Chen hesitated, then nodded. "You're not just here to reunite with humanity. You're here to assimilate us into whatever the Weaver is." Ilara sighed, her shoulders slumping slightly. For the first time, she looked vulnerable. "It's true," she admitted. "Many of us merged with the Weaver long ago. It offered survival when we faced extinction. But it comes at a cost. Free will fades, individuality dissolves. Those who resisted were cast aside, their minds erased." She stepped closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. "But I've seen what happens when it awakens fully. It consumes everything. Planets, civilizations, even stars. If we don't stop it now, it will devour Earth too." Chen stared at her, stunned. "Why tell me this? Why not destroy it yourself?" "Because I can't do it alone," she replied. "And because betraying the Weaver means death, for me, for my people, and possibly for everyone. But if you help me, we might have a chance." Her confession left Chen reeling. Could he trust her? She was part of the Exodus, complicit in their plans. Yet, her desperation felt genuine. If she was telling the truth, stopping the Weaver could save billions, including those aboard the ship. Before he could respond, alarms blared throughout the vessel. Kale rushed in, his face pale. "Commander, intruders have breached restricted zones. They're heading for the core." Ilara's eyes narrowed. "Who?" "It's Marcus." Chen realized, his stomach sinking. "He must have followed me." Without hesitation, Ilara activated a holographic map of the ship. "If they reach the core, they'll awaken the Weaver. We need to stop them, or this entire planet will pay the price." As they prepared to move, Chen glanced at Ilara, torn between doubt and determination. Whatever happened next, one thing was certain: humanity's fate rested in their hands. The chase through the labyrinthine corridors of the Exodus mothership was tense and chaotic. Dr. Malik Chen, Commander Ilara Voss, and Kale moved swiftly, their footsteps echoing against the metallic walls as alarms blared around them. Marcus Hale's unauthorized intrusion had triggered a security lockdown, sealing off key sections of the ship and forcing the group to take alternate routes. "Why did you bring him here?" Ilara demanded, her voice sharp with frustration as they rounded a corner. "He's jeopardizing everything." "He didn't come because of me," Chen shot back, his mind racing. "He came for answers, just like we all did." Ilara clenched her jaw, but said nothing. Her focus remained on reaching the core before Marcus could do irreparable damage. According to her, awakening the Weaver prematurely would unleash chaos not only aboard the ship but across Earth itself. Every second counted. Meanwhile, Marcus and Sarah Lynn navigated the restricted zones, their movements cautious yet determined. Armed with stolen access codes and a portable hacking device, Zora bypassed locked doors while Marcus kept watch. They weren't sure what they were looking for. They just knew they couldn't trust the Exodus. When they finally reached the core chamber, they froze in awe. The room was massive, its ceiling disappearing into darkness. At its center floated a pulsating orb of light, surrounded by swirling tendrils that seemed alive. It emitted a low hum, vibrating through their bodies like an unspoken mourning. This, they realized, was the Weaver. "It's beautiful," Zara whispered, her eyes wide with wonder. "And dangerous," Marcus muttered, stepping closer. He scanned the chamber, searching for controls or anything that might shut it down. But the walls were bare, save for intricate patterns etched into the metal, symbols resembling those Chen had found earlier. Suddenly, a voice echoed through the chamber. "You shouldn't be here." They turned to see Chen, Ilara, and Kale standing at the entrance. Tension crackled in the air as both groups faced off. "This is your plan, isn't it?" Marcus accused, pointing at Ilara. "To assimilate us into this thing." "No," Ilara replied firmly. "This is our prison. And if you awaken it, none of us will survive." Before anyone could react, the orb flared brightly, sending waves of energy rippling outward. The tendrils lashed out, wrapping around Zora's arm. She cried out, dropping her device as data streams flooded her vision. Images of distant galaxies, ancient civilizations, and twisted human forms flashed before her eyes. Then, just as suddenly, the tendrils retracted, leaving her trembling on the floor. "What was that?" she gasped, clutching her head. "That was the Weaver," Ilara said grimly. "It knows you're here now." Chen stepped forward, addressing Marcus. "We need to work together. If we don't stop this, Earth won't stand a chance." Marcus hesitated, distrust lingering in his gaze, but when Zara nodded weakly, he relented. For now, they shared a common goal: survival. Back on Earth, Priya Lahiri worked tirelessly to rally support for the resistance. Using fragments of information smuggled by Chen, she published a series of explosive articles exposing the Exodus' true intentions. The response was immediate. Protests erupted worldwide, demanding transparency and accountability. Governments scrambled to respond, some calling for diplomacy, others advocating force. But time was running out. As the Weaver stirred within the mothership, strange phenomena intensified across the planet. Power grids collapsed entirely in several regions, plunging cities into darkness. Shadowy figures multiplied, appearing not just in rural areas, but in urban centers too. Witnesses described feeling watched, as though unseen eyes lingered everywhere. In Geneva, a secret meeting took place between key members of the resistance. Plans were laid for a final gambit, a risky operation to disrupt the Weaver's influence using Earth's decommissioned satellite array. If successful, it could sever its connection to humanity forever. But getting to the control hub would require navigating hostile territory, both on Earth and aboard the mothership. As the meeting concluded, Chen stared at a map of the array's location. Sacrifices would have to be made. Lives would be lost. Yet, as he thought about the billions counting on them, he steeled himself for what lay ahead. "This ends now," he said quietly, determination hardening his voice. "One way or another. Would you like me to continue expanding other parts similarly?" The Resistance's plan was audacious, risky, and fraught with peril. Using Earth's decommissioned satellite array to broadcast a countersignal capable of disrupting the Weaver's influence seemed like their only hope. But executing it required precision, coordination, and sacrifices no one wanted to think about. Dr. Malik Chen stood in the dimly lit war room, surrounded by maps, schematics, and holographic projections. The satellite array's control hub was located deep within a remote desert region, heavily fortified and guarded by automated drones left over from military experiments. Reaching it meant navigating through miles of hostile terrain while avoiding detection by both the Exodus forces and the shadowy figures now roaming freely across Earth. "We'll split into 2 teams," Marcus Hale announced, his voice steady but tinged with urgency. "One will draw attention away from the hub, create enough chaos to give the other team a window. And who decides which team does what?" Zara Lynn asked, her sharp eyes darting between Marcus and Chen. Marcus hesitated, then met Chen's gaze. "You're leading the infiltration team. You've got the knowledge we need. I'll handle the diversion." Chen nodded reluctantly. He didn't like splitting up, but he knew Marcus was right. Still, something about the plan gnawed at him, a nagging doubt he couldn't shake. As preparations continued, Priya Lahiri worked tirelessly to rally global support for the operation. Her latest expose revealed classified footage of the pods aboard the Exodus, showing distorted human figures suspended in gel-like fluid. The images horrified millions, galvanizing even skeptics into action. Protesters flooded the streets, demanding answers and accountability. Governments began openly questioning the Exodus motives, some even threatening military intervention. But not everyone shared the same resolve. Late one night, as the resistance finalized their strategy, Marcus pulled Chen aside. "There's something I need to tell you," he said, his voice low and uneasy. "What is it?" Chen asked, sensing the tension in Marcus's tone. "I've been seeing things," Marcus admitted, rubbing his temples. "Visions of my family. They're alive again, happy, healthy, like they never died." Chen frowned. "That doesn't make sense. Your family passed away years ago." "I know that," Marcus snapped, his frustration bubbling over. "But these visions, they feel real. And every time I see them, there's this voice in my head. It tells me to trust the Exodus, to let them help us." Chen's heart sank. "You can't believe that, Marcus. This is exactly what the Weaver does. It manipulates people, preys on their weaknesses." "I'm not saying I trust them," Marcus shot back. "I'm just telling you what's happening. What if they're right? What if assimilation is humanity's only chance at survival?" Before Chen could respond, alarms blared throughout the base. Someone had breached their security protocols. Moments later, Kale appeared on a monitor, flanked by armed guards. "We know your plans," he said coldly, "and we won't let you succeed." Panic erupted as the resistance scrambled to secure their data and prepare for an attack. But before anyone could act, Marcus stepped forward, his face pale but resolute. "They'll spare us if I give them what they want," he muttered under his breath. "Marcus, don't." Chen started, but it was too late. Marcus turned and ran toward the exit, carrying a stolen drive containing critical intel about the satellite array. Within minutes, he handed it over to Kale, betraying the resistance in exchange for promises of safety for himself and the visions haunting him. Back at the base, the remaining members were devastated but undeterred. "He gave them our location," Zara said grimly, analyzing intercepted communications. "They'll be here soon." "We adapt," Chen replied, steeling himself. "If Marcus thinks he's saved us, he's wrong. We still have one card left to play." With time running out, the resistance launched their mission. While decoys created diversions, Chen and Zara slipped through enemy lines, heading straight for the control hub. Each step felt heavier than the last, knowing betrayal loomed behind them. As they approached the hub, Chen glanced at Zara. "Do you think we can pull this off?" She smiled faintly, though fear lingered in her eyes. "We don't have a choice." Above them, storm clouds gathered, mirroring the turmoil brewing below. Humanity's fate hung precariously in the balance, and the cost of failure would be unimaginable. The desert stretched endlessly before them, a vast expanse of sand and shadows under an overcast sky. Dr. Malik Chen and Zara Lin moved cautiously, their footsteps muffled by the soft dunes as they approached the decommissioned satellite array's control hub. The structure loomed ahead, an imposing tower surrounded by crumbling walls and rusting defense systems. It was supposed to be abandoned, but Marcus's betrayal had likely alerted the Exodus to their plans. "This place gives me the creeps," Zara muttered, adjusting the strap of her backpack. Inside it lay the portable device she'd built, a fragile piece of tech that might just save humanity if they could get it online in time. "Stay focused," Chen replied, his voice low but firm. "We're not out of this yet." As they neared the perimeter, movement caught their attention. Shadowy figures emerged from the ruins, humanoid but distorted, like reflections seen through rippling water. Their hollow eyes glowed faintly, and tendrils of energy pulsed beneath their translucent skin. These were the remnants of those who had resisted the Weaver, now twisted into something neither alive nor dead. "They're here," Zara whispered, her hand hovering over a small EMP emitter strapped to her belt. "What do we do?" Chen scanned the area quickly. "Stick to the plan. We can't let them stop us." They darted toward the entrance, weaving between the advancing figures. Zara activated the EMP, creating a brief burst of static that disrupted the entity's movements. For a moment, the path cleared, but it wouldn't last long. Inside the control hub, decay greeted them at every turn. Dust-covered consoles lined the walls, their screens flickering weakly. A massive central terminal stood in the middle of the room, its interface dormant but intact. This was their target, the key to broadcasting the countersignal. "Start uploading the program," Chen instructed, keeping watch near the doorway. Outside, the shadowy figures began pounding on the walls, their eerie wails echoing through the chamber. Zara worked quickly, connecting her device to the terminal. Lines of code scrolled across the screen as the upload progressed. But then, a chilling voice spoke, not aloud, but directly in their minds. "You cannot stop what is inevitable." Both froze, their hearts racing. The voice belonged to the Weaver. It was inside the hub, its presence seeping through the very walls. "It's trying to scare us," Zora said, forcing herself to focus. "Ignore it." But the distractions weren't limited to whispers. The pounding grew louder, the walls shaking violently as the figures outside tried to break in. Chen grabbed a fallen metal rod, ready to defend their position if necessary. Minutes felt like hours as the upload crawled toward completion. Then, without warning, the door burst open. One of the shadowy figures lunged at Zara, its tendrils reaching for her neck. She stumbled back, dropping her device. Chen swung the rod with all his strength, striking the creature and sending it reeling. "Almost done," Zora shouted, scrambling to pick up the device and reconnect it. More figures poured into the room, surrounding them. Desperation clawed at Chen's chest. They were outnumbered, outmatched, and running out of time. Suddenly, a deafening explosion rocked the compound. From outside came the sound of gunfire and screams. Priya Lahiri appeared in the doorway, wielding a makeshift weapon alongside a group of armed rebels. She had rallied local resistance fighters to provide backup, risking everything to ensure the mission succeeded. "Go," Priya yelled, holding off the attackers. "Finish it." Tears welled in Zora's eyes as she turned back to the terminal. With trembling hands, she initiated the final sequence. The countersignal surged through the satellite array, radiating outward in waves. The shadowy figures shrieked, their forms dissolving into nothingness as the signal disrupted the Weaver's influence. But victory came at a cost. As the last figure vanished, Priya collapsed to the ground, gravely wounded. Her final words were simple yet powerful. "Tell them, we fought." Chen knelt beside her, grief overwhelming him. Zara finished securing the system, tears streaming down her face. The countersignal was active, but their journey was far from over. Outside, storm clouds broke, rain washing away the dust and blood. Humanity had won a battle, but the war against the Weaver was only beginning. "Would you like me to continue expanding other parts similarly?" The countersignal pulsed across Earth, disrupting the Weaver's influence and causing chaos aboard the mothership. Inside the vessel, alarms blared incessantly as systems destabilized. Tendrils of energy writhed uncontrollably along the walls, and the once pristine corridors began to fracture like cracked glass. The entity that had haunted humanity's dreams and nightmares was unraveling. Commander Ilara Voss stood in the heart of the ship, her face pale but resolute. She knew what had to be done. The countersignal wasn't just weakening the Weaver, it was destabilizing the entire mothership. If they didn't act quickly, the vessel would collapse into the sun, taking both the Weaver and any remaining hope for peace with it. Dr. Malik Chen, and Zara Lynn returned to the mothership under heavy fire, determined to confront Ilara one last time. They weren't alone. A small coalition of rebels, led by Marcus Hale, who had been captured after his betrayal, joined them, seeking redemption for their mistakes. Though fractured and weary, they shared a single goal: to ensure the Weaver could never threaten Earth again. When they reached the core chamber, they found Ilara standing before the pulsating orb of light, the physical manifestation of the Weaver. Its tendrils lashed out wildly, trying to reassert control over the systems around it. Sparks flew, and the air crackled with electricity. "You shouldn't have come back," Ilara said without turning. Her voice was calm, though tinged with sadness. "This is where it ends, for all of us." "We're not letting you sacrifice yourself," Chen replied, stepping forward. "There has to be another way." "There isn't," Ilara countered sharply. "If we don't destroy the Weaver now, it will find a way to survive. It always does." Marcus stepped forward, his head bowed in shame. "I'm sorry for everything. Let me help finish this." Ilara studied him for a moment, then nodded. "Then stand ready. We'll need everyone." Zara worked furiously at a nearby console, attempting to disable key systems keeping the Weaver contained. Each keystroke felt like a gamble. Every wrong move risked unleashing it completely. Sweat dripped down her face as she muttered, "Almost there." Suddenly, the orb flared brightly, sending waves of energy surging through the room. The rebels braced themselves against the onslaught, shielding their faces from the blinding light. In that moment, the Weaver's voice echoed in their minds, louder than ever. "You cannot erase what you are. It's trying to break us." Zara shouted, her hands trembling on the controls. "Hold on." Ilara turned to Chen, her expression softening. "Tell my people. Tell them I chose this path because I believed in something greater than survival. Tell them I believed in humanity." Before he could respond, she activated a failsafe mechanism, severing critical connections between the Weaver and the ship's core. The orb let out an ear-splitting screech as its tendrils recoiled inward, collapsing into itself. The chamber shook violently, debris raining down from above. "We need to go, now," Marcus yelled, grabbing Zara and pulling her toward the exit. Chen hesitated, looking back at Ilara. She gave him a final nod, her eyes filled with resolve. "Go," she urged. "Live." Reluctantly, he turned and followed the others, sprinting through the disintegrating corridors. Behind them, explosions rippled through the ship as sections broke apart. The mothership groaned like a dying beast, its descent toward the sun inevitable. They barely made it to the escape pods before the vessel imploded, consumed by flames as it vanished into the fiery embrace of the star. Safe aboard a rebel shuttle, the group watched in silence as the massive craft disappeared, leaving only ashes in its wake. For a long moment, no one spoke. The weight of what they'd lost and gained hung heavily in the air. Priya's sacrifice, Ilara's courage, and even Marcus's redemption were etched into their memories forever. As Earth came into view, bathed in the golden light of dawn, Chen whispered softly to himself, "We fought, and we survived." But deep down, he couldn't shake the feeling that some questions remained unanswered. What had the Weaver truly been, and why had it fixated on humanity? The universe still held secrets, and perhaps not all of them were meant to be uncovered. Months passed since the destruction of the Exodus mothership and the demise of the Weaver. Earth began to heal, slowly shedding the scars left by its harrowing encounter with forces beyond comprehension. The shadowy figures that once haunted towns and cities vanished, animals returned to their natural behaviors, and power grids stabilized. Life resumed, but it was a changed world. Dr. Malik Chen sat in his office, now cluttered with awards, accolades, and letters from people thanking him for saving humanity. Yet he felt no sense of triumph, only quiet reflection. On his desk lay a copy of his newly published book, "The Humans We Never Expected." It chronicled everything: the arrival of the Exodus, the truth about the Weaver, the sacrifices made, and the resilience of those who fought back. For many, it served as both a warning and a testament to human courage. But Chen couldn't shake the lingering questions. Who, or what, had created the Weaver? Why had it sought out humanity specifically? And most troubling of all, was it truly gone? One evening, as he gazed at the stars through his window, something caught his eye: a faint pulse emanating from the direction of Proxima Centauri. At first, he thought it was his imagination, a trick of the light or fatigue playing games with his mind. But when he checked telescopic data later that night, the anomaly was undeniable. A rhythmic signal, almost identical to the one detected by EOS 9, pulsed steadily in the void. Chen's heart raced. Could remnants of the Weaver still exist? Or was this something else entirely? He reached out to Zora Lin, who had taken up residence at a research facility dedicated to studying alien technology. Together, they analyzed the signal, cross-referencing it with fragments of data recovered from the Exodus. What they found chilled them to the bone. "It's not random," Zora said, her voice barely above a whisper. "This is a message, and it's calling us." "To where?" Chen asked, though part of him already feared the answer. "To Proxima Centauri," she replied, "where the Exodus came from." The implications were staggering. If the Weaver originated near Proxima Centauri, then perhaps its influence extended far beyond Earth. Maybe the Exodus hadn't been its first victims, and wouldn't be its last. Meanwhile, Marcus Hale struggled to rebuild his life after his betrayal. Though forgiven by the Resistance, guilt weighed heavily on him. In an effort to make amends, he joined a global initiative aimed at preparing humanity for future encounters with extraterrestrial entities. "We can't afford to be unprepared again," he often said during interviews. His words resonated deeply with a world still reeling from recent events. As monuments were erected in memory of Priya Lahiri, Elara Voss, and countless others who gave their lives, humanity emerged stronger and more united than ever before. Nations collaborated on space exploration projects, determined to uncover the mysteries of the cosmos while safeguarding Earth against potential threats. Yet, beneath the surface of progress lurked unease. Conspiracy theories flourished online, claiming that the Weaver's presence remained hidden among humanity, waiting for the right moment to awaken. Others speculated that the Exodus might not have been alone, that other ships carrying similar secrets could be en route to Earth. On a quiet night, Chen stood atop a hill overlooking Geneva, watching the stars twinkle above. The faint pulse from Proxima Centauri continued to echo in his mind, a reminder that the universe held secrets yet to be uncovered. As he turned to leave, he whispered softly to himself, "We survived this time, but are we ready for what comes next?" The screen faded to black, leaving viewers with a single lingering question: had humanity truly won, or merely delayed the inevitable?